Let's do our intro first. 30 years ago, punk rock music hit the mainstream. And for the past 3 decades, society wondered, what is the best punk album of 1994? It's your 90s punk rock connoisseur, Jarrell, along with my punk enthusiast co-host, Mitch. And we are about to break down 16 punk rock albums from 1994 in a 4-round bracket to determine the best album. Also helping us is music critic John Hannigan from the YouTube channel What's Spinning. You guys can see the bracket. So basically, we're going to all be voting. Best 2 out of 3 votes wins each round. So in the words of Rancid, let's go. Starting off, I call this one the debut album matchup. We got MXPX with their album Pokin' At Ya versus Unwritten Law's Blue Room. So let's let our guests go first. Which one are you going with?
So I am going to go with Unwritten Law, Blue Room. This was a band that randomly, a lot of people in my circle in high school were like very into Unwritten Law. This was a band that was talked about a lot throughout my high school, and this was an album that was pushed my way, and I never got a chance to listening to it. And of all the albums here that I listened to for the first time, this was probably the one that surprised me the most. As far as the medium goes on like punk goes, this is like my style to a T. Not only that, I've never been that much of an MXPX guy, not even their later stuff. It's just, I've always tried to get into their stuff and it's just never been for me. I would definitely say Unwritten Law in this one.
That's one for Unwritten Law. What do you got, Mitch?
Yeah, I actually also picked Unwritten Law. Just it hit a certain way. Yeah. I was a huge fan of the instrumentals, like way more than MXPX is a little bit more interesting for me. I mean, as soon as it starts with CPK and you hear that, pick it up, I was like, okay, I'm in. You know, pick it up. I'm gonna pick it up. I'm there. So immediately I was like, okay, I'm dancing to this. This is great, dude.
All right, so that means they already win, but just in case you got to hear what I was gonna pick, I totally agree. It's a clean sweep, and Unwritten Law, Blue Room is, I think, dominant over MXPX's Pokin' At Ya. Now we're going to go to what I call the problematic lead singer matchup. We got Screeching Weasel with their album How to Make Enemies and Irritate People versus Guttermouth with their album Friendly People. You know, Guttermouth has been pretty famous for having all kind of indecent exposure issues when their live sets and saying, like, I guess, problematic lyrics. And we all know about the Screeching Weasel, Ben Weasel situation at the South by Southwest in 2011, where he punched a girl on stage and then the whole band quit. But both bands have really tongue-in-cheek lyrics that are supposed to be offensively funny. This time, we're going to go at Mitch first. Which one are you going with?
Listening to 2 of them, comparing them, it was Guttermouth all the way for me. It was more in tune with the kind of pop punk rock that I like. It just seemed like it had a little bit more of like that edge. And I mean, instrumentation wise, it hooked me more. I didn't know about the problematic shit with them though, so don't cancel them.
What about you, John? Which one are you going with?
I also did not know about either of their issues. Also for me, it was Guttermouth all the way. I thought that the album had a lot of personality to it, like it's a little bit heavier, a little bit more raw sounding. Plus, this is also just me. For some weird reason, like Screeching Weasel used to have a huge following on Long Island. And they were always a band that I was around, I never got attached to, and this didn't exactly help. So yeah, Guttermouth all the way.
So again, we got another winner right there. But for myself, Guttermouth is, I thought, a better album. It's just funnier, I thought. And I'm not like a big fan of the whole Ramone-esque pop punk sound that Screeching Weasel does. It's fine, but I was more into like the punk rock style of Guttermouth, and they have a more of like an edge. I appreciated that. Next up, we have the Nardcore face-off. Nardcore, in case you don't know, is a hardcore punk style that comes out of Oxnard, California. So in this matchup, we have RKL, which stands for Rich Kids on LSD, with their final album, Riches to Rags, versus 10 Foot Pole with their final album with their original lead singer, Scott. Which one are you going with?
Definitely Riches to Rags, RKL. I thought that this was just a really interesting album. I thought like the technicality on display was one of the more interesting displays of all of these albums. I thought it had a little bit of like a progressive nature to it. Like the 10-Foot Pole album, it was fine to me. It wasn't bad, but definitely going RKL here.
So we got one vote for RKL, but what do you think, Mitch?
I was gonna say this is where we part ways a little bit. I did pick 10-Foot Pole. That this was hard for me because I really did enjoy both, but I did land on 10-Foot Pole. It just hit me harder. There was, I think, just in terms of more tracks I enjoyed.
Not that it matters or anything, but like 10-Foot Pole's Rev is a much more known album than Riches to Rags.
It sounds like Rich Kids on LSD have like a Megadeth meets like No Effects vibe because his vocals sound dead ringer like Dave Mustaine. I just like that intensity. I really think the Rich Kids on LSD, I'm going to just go with that one. All right, so now keeping in that whole scene, we're going to what I'm going to call the teacher versus the pupil. We got No Effects with their album Punkin' Drublick versus Lagwagon's album Trash. The reason I say that is because Fat Mike from No Effects produced Lagwagon's Trash album. No pressure, Mitch. What are you going with?
So, thing with me, I don't really care for No Effects that much.
This guy.
I know. Yeah, shoot me. Okay, I know I deserve it, but I had never heard of Lagwagon. I listened to that. I was like, you know what? For me, I think it's Lagwagon.
Okay. What about you, John? What are you going with?
I am 1,000% going No Effects on this. The Lagwagon wasn't terrible. I didn't hate it, but unlike other albums from other artists later on, I feel like this is No Effects kinda at their peak. When we get further into the 2000s with No Effects' music, I feel like the humor hasn't landed as much, but even the humor on Punkin' Drublick, like, it just seems like it's right where it's supposed to be. It doesn't seem forced. There's nothing awkward about it. Like, that to me is like the skate punk Abbey Road there.
That's a bold statement, but there's just so much eclectic stuff going into this album that Lagwagon is not doing. Which obviously I'm going to go the same thing with my points right there. I recognize the importance of this album, and there are some classic Linoleum, Don't Call Me White, Dying Degrees, The Bruise. I have to go with this one. Next up, four-piece bands. I guess I don't know what to say with this one. We got Bouncing Souls with their album The Good, the Bad, and the Argyle versus Rancid's Let's Go.
I wrote in my notes here, be nice because they're from Jersey. So, it's funny. This is an era of the Bouncing Souls that I've never cared for. I got into their, late 90s, early 2000s stuff. That was my go-to for the Bouncing Souls. Even, some of their later stuff, like, I really connected with. This is a period of time that I'm not particularly crazy about from Rancid either. Like, with their next few albums, like Rancid would become my go-to. However, going back to both of them, this was actually the toughest one for me to pick. I like the eccentricity that the Bouncing Souls had on here. There's a lot of different sounds. There is some humor thrown in. The covers I enjoy as well. It's interesting for them. And also for the Rancid album, I mean, a lot of this is a blast from my past. A lot of it is nostalgia, but I also really love the personality that they had on display here. Kind of felt like they were a little loose on this album. It's tough, but I am going Rancid.
What are you going with, Mitch?
I have to agree with you there with pretty much everything you said. This one was pretty difficult for me. I did have enjoyment with both albums, but did lean more towards Rancid. I seem more in tune with the kind of shit I listen to. It did have to go to Rancid for me.
Okay, I'm a big Rancid fan, so I picked Rancid too. The songs from Bouncing Souls, they're cute, they're funny. Dead Beats is a great song. I love the 80 movie quotes. The covers are okay. It's just a fun album, but Rancid, like the bass tabs alone from Matt Freeman, the lyrical content, the guitar work, even Bouncing Souls themselves was like, yeah, their album's better than us. Now we're getting to 5-piece bands. We got Bad Religion with their album Stranger Than Fiction versus Strung Out and their album Another Day in Paradise. Mitch, which one are you going with?
This was not easy. Strung Out, I think they beat them out. It was just closer to like the punk/hardcore sound that I look for in this kind of stuff. It just hit a little bit more than that. So there you go.
And their riffs are sick. I'll give you that, man. Their combination of punk rock and metal, it's just amazing what they were doing, even at such an early point in their career with the band. What are you going with, John?
So this was a tough one. On one hand, I agree completely with what you were just saying. I mean, the riffs that Strung Out put together were ridiculous and wild. But on the other hand, we're talking about like one of my first memories of punk rock. Like this Bad Religion specifically was like probably the first thing to a punk band that I connected with. I think it's a landmark for punk, and I think Bad Religion is the way to go.
Okay. I hate that you guys put me in this situation. Growing up with Stranger Than Fiction for the past 30 years is like, I don't want to come into this like nostalgia goggles and stuff like that. But there are just so many like classics on Stranger Than Fiction. You got your 21st Century Digital Boy, you got your Infected, the title track, the lyrical content alone, the way they write music, the accessibility of the album is why I'm going with that instead. It sucks, man, because that Strung Out album is really good. I really implore people to listen to that band. All right, so now we're going to the big timers. So first up, we got The Offspring with their album Smash versus Down by Law and their album Punk Rock Academy Fight Song. Both are their third albums in their discography. And yeah, that's really all I got to say about that. So what are you going with, John? Which one?
I did really enjoy the Down by Law, but on 1,000,000% nostalgia alone, I have to say The Offspring, and yes, that's very cheesy of me, but God, that was middle school for me. That was like my intro to punk.
I'm the same way. That was like a game changer for me with the Smash album and hearing it come out and play everything like that. What do you got, Mitch? Which one?
I do agree that The Offspring is pretty nostalgic. I had never listened to Down by Law. Really liked what I heard. Just based off it was something new. It's fun to skate to virtually. So I did personally pick Down by Law, but I definitely understand where you guys are coming from.
I remember never thinking to myself, I need to hear a cover of the Proclaimers song 500 Miles, but that is a damn good cover.
It is.
It's fun, but god damn it, it's just a thing smashed out by The Offspring. There is just monumental songs on there. Bad Habit, Come Out and Play, Self-Esteem, Nitro. There's just too much. I don't know about you, Mitch, but I feel like they did not really have a chance with this one. All right, and the other one that people were assuming we're gonna do, 3-piece bands from Berkeley, California. We got Green Day's Dookie versus Jawbreaker's 24-Hour Revenge Therapy. I must also add, I believe, Mitch, if you want to correct me, that this is also the third album from Jawbreaker too, right?
Yes, I do believe so.
So look at that. We got 3 combinations right there, 3-piece bands, same vicinity, third album. Let's just go with you, Mitch. What you gonna do?
So, of course, Dookie with Green Day and Jawbreaker. I mean, those are both, like, huge albums for me. I'm actually going to have to, like, really think hard on this one.
Many hours later.
Dookie has so many great hits on it. I mean, out of the Green Day albums, that's probably my favorite. But Jawbreaker, they've always been there for me. I think I revisit them more than I revisit Green Day. This one, I really was back and forth on. I feel like I'm going to be the odd man out. But Jawbreaker is like such an important band for me, and I think this is like bias. So I went with Jawbreaker. There's more substance, there's more depth to the lyrics.
All right, how about you, John? Which one are you going with?
I'm probably about to piss some people off. So this was tough for me as well, because in a lot of ways this is my middle school years versus my high school years, because I was very into Green Day in middle school, and I listened to Jawbreaker all the time in high school. But here's the thing. The Jawbreaker album is amazing, but I don't think that this is Green Day's best album. And I'd never have thought that. So I'm going Jawbreaker.
And with that, folks, just an upset. No one saw this coming, but Green Day's Dookie album, which has been classified as the album that broke punk rock music, has been knocked out of the first round. They have the songs like Welcome to Paradise, Basket Case, When I Come Around. There's so many hit songs on that album, but Jawbreaker came through and pulled ahead. I'm just like the two of them. It was a tough decision. But going with nostalgia alone, I would have picked Green Day's Dookie album. Like, just seeing that thing happen did not happen with the Jawbreaker's album to me. But I'm outvoted, everybody. Round 2. First up, we got Rags to Riches versus Punk and Drublic. Really think about it. And what are you picking to go on to the Final Four?
I'm picking RKO.
Didn't even think about that.
I'd really like to see RKO advance. I'm picking RKO.
Okay, what do you got for that one, John?
This is a tough one for me just because I'm looking at it from literally pure nostalgia and a reason that I love punk rock, that's the reason that I do, and something that I just heard the other day and I was really impressed by. And for me, I mean, I have to go Punk and Drublic. I think it's just...
I'm mad you put me in this situation, but go on.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm just going to go with what I think NoFX would pick as well. I'll pick RKL.
Wow.
Another upset. I thought RKL, I was so impressed by what they're doing. All right. Next up, we got Unwritten Law's Blue Room versus Jawbreaker's 24-Hour Revenge Therapy. Hey, what do you got, John?
I mean, the Unwritten Law was really impressive, but no way. The Jawbreaker.
Jawbreaker going to the Final Four.
It's a classic.
Like, I don't even have to say anything. You know me. Strawberry.
I will agree with you as well. I think it's a better album, so we got 3 for 3. It's a clean sweep. Next up, we got Rancid's Let's Go versus Bad Religion, Stranger Than Fiction. Now, there is no wrong answer, but there is a correct answer.
Exactly.
I have the wrong answer, so. I mean, yeah, it's Rancid. Come on. I would rather revisit that than Bad Religion. Even though, yeah, like, again, Bad Religion's fine, but the Rancid album, I was like, this is dope.
What are you gonna go, John?
For me, it's a no-brainer. For this generation of Rancid, this era of Rancid versus Stranger Than Fiction, I have to go Stranger Than Fiction. Not only does it have the great singles, but the deep cuts are great too. Like the Handshake is awesome. It's so consistent too. So I'm 100% going Stranger Than Fiction.
You did it to me again, guys. I'm a big fan of Rancid, and I think the Bad Religion album is really important to their career. I'm sorry, Rancid. You're my second favorite album in your discography, but I'm going to have to go with Bad Religion. Stranger Fiction is, in the end, a better album. That brings Bad Religion to the Final Four. And last one we got is another teacher versus student, because we got Offspring's Smash versus Guttermouth's Friendly People. And the reason I say that is because Guttermouth is on Nitro Records, which is run by Dexter Holland from The Offspring. So he created a label, signed Guttermouth, and they are his pupils. Which album do you think is better, John?
For me, I'm definitely going Smash here. Guttermouth, it's fine. You know, Smash, you know, at least it has like a ton of nostalgia attached to it. And just so many of the deep cuts are really, really good. Like Genocide's really good. Oh yeah.
All right, and what about you, Mitch? Which one are you going with?
I think I'm going towards Guttermouth, honestly.
Are you just like trolling? Like, why would you say that?
I mean, Guttermouth, they rode on for me, dude. I don't know, that album just like really hit me. I just thought Guttermouth was like really fucking fun, dude.
All right, Guttermouth, enjoy your time, and it's done. Because Offspring is a better album, I'm picking that one. All right, and now we got our final four. We got Jawbreaker versus Bad Religion.
This is really not easy at all.
Who wants to go first, actually, so we don't put it on the pressure?
I'll go first. I think it's easier for me.
All right, go ahead.
You are to Bad Religion as I am to Jawbreaker, it seems. Again, very influential band for me. They just hit a certain spot, just lyrically and experimental wise. So yeah, Jawbreaker all the way.
All right, how about you, John?
All right, so this is actually going to shock you guys, but I'm looking at my notes over here, and there's one thing that's really sticking out. Personally, this is just me. I think that in these two artists' catalogs, I think this is their best album. But here's one thing that really sticks out to me. The Jawbreaker album, I think, is a little bit more influential as far as the next 10 or 15 years.
To who?
To the whole post-hardcore scene, the whole emo scene of the early 2000s.
Yeah, exactly.
Point taken.
So because of that, I'm going Jawbreaker.
Oh, Jawbreaker supremacy.
You guys know the influence that Bad Religion has in general. You guys know how monumental Straight and Fiction was to their career, where it went gold eventually. I'm outnumbered, guys. I would obviously go with Bad Religion over that, but it's 2-1. Jawbreaker has shockingly made it all the way to the championship round. But who are they going up against? We'll find out as we see the other square off between Rich Kids on LSD with their album Riches to Rags versus The Offspring Smash. John, which one are you going with?
I am going with Riches to Rags for the same reason that I just went to Jawbreaker over Bad Religion. I personally like Smash a lot. I don't think it's The Offspring's best album either. So in this case, I thought that the Riches to Rags sound was one of the more unique albums that we listened to, and I'm going with that for the sake of that.
What about you, Mitch? Which one are you going with?
I think John put it best. I mean, this is the rags for me. I mean, I feel like no one's ever talks about album artwork except for me.
It's so dope. That
I love it.
I literally like went on Google and like zoomed in on it. I thought it was so cool.
I really love the aesthetic. It just hits a certain way, and it just has the things I enjoy with a punk record like this.
RKL has already advanced, but if you're one which one I would have picked, obviously Offspring album is a game changer, but I feel like I'm the same way as you two. I never listened to RKL before, and hearing that album is just like, this is amazing. Where the have I been for the past 30 years? So it pains me to do this. I'm sorry about the Offspring, but it's a clean sweep. RKL goes to the championship round. But who is going to be the best punk rock album from 30 years ago? We'll find out. Jawbreaker versus RKL. Let's go with our guests first. John.
This is really, really hard. Like I said, the Riches to Rags, easily the most unique thing that I've heard. But it's Jawbreaker. It's Jawbreaker. It has to be Jawbreaker. I mean, it's timeless. It still holds up. It still sounds good. It still goes hard. It's, only grown more, respectable over the years. And like I said, highly influential.
Okay. I'm going to go seconds to give some suspense. I like indie rock music. I like indie punk music, but I damn sure like skate punk way more. You're stuck on an island. You have two albums to pick. I would rather go with RKL's album. And the reason I did that is I just want to put the pressure on you, Mitch, to be the one that be the tiebreaker for once.
There's no pressure. Jawbreaker wins.
What? All right, go on.
Jawbreaker has just always hit in a certain way for me. Just lyrically, instrumentally, it's groundbreaking for me. I really think Jawbreaker helped form the kind of shit I listen to. No matter how much I listen to it, I cannot get sick of it. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be Jawbreaker every time for me. All
right, and that's it, everybody. We have officially determined that Jawbreaker's third album is the best punk rock album of 1984, 30 years ago. Let's do that if you haven't already. Tell us what you think of it in the comments below. Tell us what you think of our brackets. If you disagree with us, agree with us. We'd love to hear everything you thought. And yeah, Punk rock!
Like and subscribe, folks.